Holla!
Oh. Well, that's funny. That. I will need that. Also, to plug.
Wow, great start. I bet you it's not even working.
No, I can hear you fine. It's great.
Try this again. Welcome to Caller, the only show which can report that my best friend's sister's boyfriend's girlfriend's brother heard from this guy who knows this kid who's going with this girl who saw Ferris pass out at 31 Flavors last night.
Oh,
I'm Cory. He is Steve. Welcome to the show. And a good thing I put that on there because, again, under the weather. We missed last week because you were under the weather, and this week I am.
Yeah. And
doing great.
For a minute there, you had me thinking it was Darth Helmet, but then is it Fast Times at Ridgemont High?
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off, because it says Ferris, of course.
Of course.
Of course.
Where the hell were you on that one?
But you know what? That was a great scene from Spaceballs. You know, my father's cousin's third. What does that make us? Absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
Oh no, Cory. So you're under the weather, eh?
I am.
That's too bad. When did that start? When did that start?
Okay, so long story. 3 weeks ago,
Jesus.
The youngest, Miss Ava, she had a cough, runny nose. We went on our trip to Niagara. Summer got a fever, so she was a bit under the weather. Then that spread to Mom, and then now to me. Jesus. So it's made its rounds.
That's not good. That's not good
at
all. And for those keeping score, that's the first one of this season.
Yeah, and I always get brought up. It's always get brought up to my attention that I did get a flu shot. So it's like, you got a flu shot. Why are you sick? Because it's not the flu.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's not like You're not going to get the flu.
Yeah, but head colds be damned. There's no head cold shot.
Well, there could be.
Yeah, that's right.
So we'll be talking about this week to kick it off. Are we talking weather? Are we talking like how sore our body is from doing yard work, technology? I mean, we could hit them all in one fell swoop. Computer's working. I did work outside, and my back is paying for it.
No yard work. Installed some solar lights around the perimeter of the house, and finished securing the post of our railing out on the porch.
So hold on, the solar lights, is that for like Christmas and like the ones that reflect off of the siding, that kind of thing?
No, these solar lights just around the perimeter to keep things away from the house because they don't like light.
Interesting. I never thought of that. Come
on, and just to keep things away. Let them murk around the shadows elsewhere.
Yeah, go be Batman somewhere else. God damn it.
Knock on wood. We'll see if it works.
Well, I guess we'll find.
But then again, I install those solar lights in fucking 2 days of clouds. I'm looking outside and like, well, this one's working. It's held the charge. This one, not so much. Why is that? Okay, well, proximity for where the sun comes up to its position. Okay, it doesn't get the sun all the time. So
the test run will be in March.
Yeah.
Just to make sure.
From June to August. It's 12 hours of sun, then you'll. But then again, I don't know if they're broken or because they should be on, but there's also no sun.
Well, the warranty will be long gone by then. How long did it take you? Was it a pretty quick process?
Yeah, they just peel and stick.
Nice. You should have drawn that out more. Like, it was very arduous.
Yeah, well, technical. I had to, flick at it with my fingernail, right. And I had just clipped my nail, so there's not much between that and the skin, so it was a process.
That's kind of the frustration I'm going with right now. I'm kind of going through that with McDonald's Monopoly. So I'm going into the office 3 days a week, and there's McDonald's right by us, so we'll go for coffee once or twice a day there. And you'd think they would make the stickers easy to peel off. It's no, and especially as someone who bites their nails, it makes it more difficult. And so I just would like for them to like have, you know how you can have those, stickers where like part of it's just paper and you just kind of peel it, break it off, and then you're good to go. Not McDonald's. Not McDonald's. But I've made good, I've won 10,000 points. I've won a few burgers, a few coffees. None of the big prizes, though, unfortunately.
Yeah, like how they could just give away the points.
That's right. Yeah, make them come back for more.
Make you spend money for points, and then you have to earn so many points in order to get something for free. But it's never enough points to get it for free. You have to get this one portion of it or a smaller version that you're going to spend more money to get the bigger version.
Well, and even the burgers that you get, like when you win a burger, it's not every burger. It's McChicken, Quarter Pounder, or Big Mac. Like the
value meal.
Yeah. Like what if I want to get like the Big Arch or any other, the Filet-O-Fish? No. Absolutely not.
No.
I don't think I've ever had the Filet-O-Fish in my entire life. Something about buying fish from a fast food place just doesn't jive with me.
What about the McRib?
I've never had it, but I think that's only because I've never been to a McDonald's that had it.
Fair enough.
There was McLobster for those listeners that are living out in the east coast of Canada and the United States. Never had that. Uh-oh. Hit the mute button.
The McLobster. I forgot about that. Remember the McPizza?
I do. I was working there at that time, so it was amazing because I got 50% off. You used to get that all the time. That, and then there was the McDLT, where it came in a styrofoam, like complete disregard for environmental issues at the time, in the 80s. Like, who cares? But it was a styrofoam case, and it had the hot part of the sandwich on one side and the cold part of the sandwich on the other, and then you combined it. Big waste of styrofoam, big waste of resources. But man, it was good.
Putting all the work on the customer to put the sandwich together.
Yeah. Might as well get a discount.
No. Except if they charge more for extra items, they don't decrease the price for, taking stuff off. Like, you want to hold the pickle or hold the lettuce? No.
Hold the beef. Oh, call back. Hold the beef.
Where's the beef? You better hold that beef.
You're doing good though. You're doing good with muting and not breaking my earbuds.
Right. It's a good thing when you have the mouse that's right.
You know what though? Not coughing, you don't sound like you have a cold at all. That's great.
But internally in my head, I sound terribly. But
yeah.
At least I know it's working for me as of right now.
When's the next game night? Couple days. Okay, Tuesday. So you got a couple days.
Yeah.
You got a couple days. You'll get over it. No problem.
That's the thing with the wife. Her voice is completely gone. That's manifested itself up from the lungs to the throat and then just stopped. And we're going to hang out there for a while.
Just stop and enjoy the view, right?
Yeah. See, the worst part about this is now I'm going to be one talking for a bit.
Well,
like an award show. Celebrating my, getting out.
Cory is coming out of the limousine, walking up the red carpet, stopping to sign some autographs.
People ask me who I'm wearing. It's Granimals.
Oh, I'm excited to hear this.
Okay, let me get the coffee.
Excited.
So yes, I left the home today. Took the young fella, and Michelle, shout out Michelle, to Venom: The Last Dance, which opened on Friday to, as you would have guessed it, terrible reviews. As one would expect, third movie in a series of films that has just been one misfire after another. Do we need to go over the plot? Do we know what this is all about?
I had no idea this movie was coming out until the marketing campaign started a couple weeks ago. I legit thought this movie was coming out in 2025.
Yeah.
So I know nothing about the plot other than that there's a horse and there's Null, but I don't know anything.
All right, so to sum up the plot, which is not hard to do because it is very, very thin. So this movie picks up shortly after the second one, which is like days, according to the plot line, which I didn't realize as the movie went on. They're kind of establishing that the 3 movies all happen within like of a year total, like a total year span, which
I think that's actually a good thing.
Short.
It's a good thing because if you were living with a symbiote that completely made you sick, ill, alienated from family, work, life, friends, etc., you'd want all that to happen within quick succession of one another. So I'm actually okay with that. The fact that it's so close, like it wouldn't be like, 5 years later, I'm living as Venom. I've got a nice part-time job as a barista. Anyway, I'll let you carry on.
So the movie opens introducing Null, which we know is the creator of the symbiotes. And he's locked into prison, much like General Zod in the Phantom Zone. And he has to, or is trying to get out. And the only way to get out is via a key, which they refer to as a codex, which I felt like that's a bad name for it because it doesn't really fit to what a codex is. But whatever. Semantics.
It's in the comics.
I understand that, but it's just like we know codex is different things. So in the codex is in Venom, and that all came out because if the host or the symbiote dies while together, it creates the codex. So I'm trying to think, when did this happen? And of course, thankfully, the movie shows me that, which happened in the first one. I think Eddie gets shot, dies, and then Venom, reattaches to him and then brings him back to life. So that created the codex. So he sends his minions to do his bidding to go get the codex so he can get out. So that's the prologue, and then you have the credits, and then the movie proceeds to retcon everything that we've seen at the end of the second movie in the post-credit scene and at the post-credit scene in No Way Home.
Of course.
Of the symbiote not being left in 616. That doesn't happen anymore. So, right there, it's just an FU to the fans.
Yep.
But it's not tied to the plot at all whatsoever.
Sony just saying to you know what? No, we're not going to relinquish. Absolutely not.
You know what? We thought you guys were like this, but no, we're Sony.
We were thinking about it, but then we changed our minds.
So then the movie proceeds to go down this rabbit hole of just not really making much sense in what it's trying to accomplish, because it's introducing like another shadow government type. Then there's other doctors that are studying symbiotes. It gives the impression that they're creating their own, or they've somehow synthetically made it possible to bond with people without it affecting them, which is like undoes what happens in the first movie, where you have to find the perfect host in order to survive.
Right. Yeah, because they were all like blowing up or dying in the first one, wasn't that? Yeah.
Yeah. This one it doesn't really establish if they fixed it or they've been doing their own. But the one big subplot is that Eddie's accused of murdering the cop in the second one, which took me out of the movie for a second because we saw at the end of the second movie the cop was alive. Seemingly had a symbiote in him because his eyes get all twitchy. And that seems to be all BS. But again, it cuts to this shadowy government type group that's working with the military to try to get Eddie, and they're also trying to get Venom, and they don't know. Then they find out about the codex, and it's the whole other reason for going after him. But
and then Amanda Waller shows up. What the fuck?
No, but kind of.
Yeah.
We have Baron Mordo in this, who's not Baron Mordo. He's Strickland or something, like military guy. Chiwetel, and
Oh.
he was just like he's just military that's gone to catch Eddie, and Eddie and Venom just want to go to New York. Which, if you remember from the credit scene in Carnage, they want to go out and see the Spider-Man, right? Which now Eddie wants Venom wants to go to New York to see the Statue of Liberty. Eddie wants to go to New York because he knows a judge who he's got dirt on, who he can blackmail to clear his name. Very, very heroic of him.
Mm.
And so the rest of the movie is just him trying to get New York, which doesn't happen. Everything will take place at Area 51.
So
that's where all the symbiotes are being held.
Okay. So why was Null in the movie then? If it's like more like street level,
just the overshadowing presence of the symbiotes. Know Null is coming.
Oh, so there's going to be another one.
Is there? This is the last sentence in the title, including an actual dance sequence.
The last dance. Next one, Venom 4, before the final dance.
So I think they have one symbiote. I think it's Toxin, who has all the exposition about what's happening. Talks about how they overthrew Null, locked him into prison, but and then the reason they all came to Earth was it was a safe haven for them.
Okay.
And they kind of have to protect Eddie or Venom and the Codex to prevent Null from getting out. In which then it is established that if you die together when you create the Codex, the only way to destroy the Codex is for one of them to die to break the bond, which then prevents the Codex from being out there.
So Toxin is narrating the movie?
No, so he's bonded with Mulligan, the cop that he's accused of killing. They have him sequestered in Area 51.
Okay.
Again, like I said, there's this shadow government thing that never gets established as to what they are, what they're doing.
Leave it open to people's imagination.
Yeah. So that's the basic plot. It's
not Amanda Waller, it's Angela Walden.
Yes,
running the show.
It's as thick as this paper here.
Were there any other symbiotes like Riot or Scream?
So there's the third act, which is one, and I'm not kidding you at all. It is the second of 2 action sequences in this movie.
That late into the show. Okay.
Where so they have all the symbiotes and they all bond with people to again try to save Venom. So there's a whole bunch of different ones. Not the ones you expect to see, like the big named ones. But ones I'm just by looking, I'm trying to guess on colors. Like, is this anti-Venom?
I was gonna say, so there are different colored ones?
Yes.
Okay. Green, white, blue.
Like I wasn't sure. Like Toxin to me looked more like Lasher, like more of a teal.
Okay. Yeah.
But they said it's Toxin, so
I always thought Toxin was green, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. But just the coloring, it could have been the lighting, I don't know. There's but
what was the runtime on it? Too long?
Less than 2 hours. No, less than 2 hours.
Okay.
No, but like I said to Vishal when we were leaving, it says I feel from watching this movie that Tom Hardy was just as enthusiastic to be in this as I was watching it. Yeah.
Well, and so the first movie came out, I want to say in 2018, somewhere around then. Was he
2021 COVID? The second one came out.
Yeah, and then he had The Dark Knight Rises as a big hit before this came out. So I'm just wondering how big of a movie star was he at the time when the first one came out, or even before it started, before filming started, because maybe he signed a 3-movie pact with Sony And so by the time
So
the third
he
one's
had,
come around,
Inception, right? That kind of put him on the map. Then got the Dark
oh
Knight.
right,
And then
yeah, he
in
was in there.
Dunkirk.
Okay,
Doing some TV stuff with Peaky Blinders and.
okay. So he was well
Like
enough
he's
known.
very heavily involved in these movies after the first one, like more behind the scenes, like with the script and all that stuff. But if you do end up seeing it, you should watch it because he does seem to be phoning it in quite a bit. Like there's very little emoting, which is funny because there's a scene towards the end where they're like showing clips of the previous movies, and he looks like he's having a more fun time in those two in this one.
Well, and you could tell, like in the first one too. Like the first one, he really tried to portray and emphasize the fact that like something was inside of him, and that he was almost like a dual persona.
Right.
Where from what it sounds like you're saying, yeah, he was mailing it in. Like,
yeah, and like,
people know who Venom is now.
Like, Parker's favorite part, which you mentioned, was the Venom horse. Because that's like one of the sequences where it's they're trying to capture him, so they separate and they're in this like in these rapids going, and he's bonding with different animals. So after the Venom horse, he's Venom fish, and then he's Venom frog. So like that for kids, that's like, oh hey, look, funny looking characters. But then like I said, that's really kind of all there is action wise. The rest is him like walking through the desert, meeting up with the family and hitching a ride to Vegas. Then there's the dance sequence, and then there's the third act.
And just to confirm, Null was only in the beginning sequence of the movie.
There are 2 post-credit scenes. I will spoiler and say he's in one of them. I won't say what it's for.
Okay.
But yes, the epilogue or prologue, and then credits, movie starts. And then not till like the very, very end where like, is there really any shots of him? But then, not really involved in the plot other than exposition.
I'm pretty sure that we talked about this on a previous episode, but the creators of Null weren't even aware that he was in the movie.
That's correct.
So Mr. Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman likely did not receive a check from Sony because of it.
Probably.
Wow. You know what? I am going to see it. Oliver's been watching the first 2 Venom. I don't think he's completed. He kind of just throws it on when there's nothing else that he decides that he wants to watch. I think I'll see it though. I don't think I'll go to spend money at the theater to go see it.
I think by like end of year it's on streaming. It's not going to make a lot of money.
No, you sent me something interesting today.
Did I?
Yes, about the cumulative scoring, which you know what it's.
I'm hoping. I'm really hoping it does.
I wasn't surprised when you sent it to me, but it's also something I didn't think about. So I had to stop and be like, "Oh, wow! Do you want to share it with the good listener, or would you like me to?"
Okay, so essentially, what I sent over was this graph. I can't pull it up, so I'll just verbally speak it. So Sony's has 3 motion pictures coming out this year, set in their Sony universe of Marvel characters or Spider-Man characters, I think they call it.
Sony Vomitverse.
Yeah, pretty much. So we had Madam Web, now Venom, The Last Dance, and then Kraven the Hunter coming out. If you're talking Rotten Tomato score, which seems to be the holy grail, what people go to in order to decide where they're going to spend their money in the motion picture business. Madam Web had a score of 11. Venom has a score of 37. So if Kraven comes out with a score of 29% or lower,
which is possible,
which is entirely possible, the cumulative score of those 3 movies combined will be less than the one movie that Marvel released this year of Deadpool and Wolverine, which has a score of 78% out of 100.
Now, that is surprising. I mean, in fairness to Sony, Marvel probably has a good thing going where they've dialed back and have just released one movie.
Yeah.
And the one movie that they happen to have released is the one that's been the most anticipated since Endgame. But even still, the fact that you have 3 movies that together combined might not top one movie coming out.
Yeah, and then not to shit on Sony either, like, and that 78% for Marvel is on the low end.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they've had a couple and like the close to rotten, if not rotten, but they usually average in the 80s to 90s with their flicks.
Yeah, it's kind of disappointing with Craven because Craven is one of those characters where he's I've always liked Craven. I liked him in the animated series. I've liked him in the comics. And I just know that this movie is not gonna go all that well. It really isn't. And it's unfortunate because he's a good character. Like he's, there's some meat on that bone to tell a good story. I don't know that they're going to take the right approach. And I think they're going to take the approach which they have with every other supporting cast member. Just make a movie just to keep the rights. Who cares about the content? Who cares about seeing where you are in 5 years? It's awful.
Yeah, we've talked about it ad nauseum. You can't take a villain, separate him from the hero he's known to be the villain against, and then make him the protagonist of his own property, then expect to have him be the villain when you put him.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
What were the trailers? Anything interesting?
Unfortunately for Parker, because a 9-year-old going to see a movie he's excited about, to not see anything that he's interested in until Craven.
Yeah.
But he saw the poster for Dogman, which
oh,
before.
Okay. Uh-oh.
I knew it. I knew we were not going to get through an episode without your
No, camera. I thought I was doing great. I'm here though, buddy. I'm here. Looks like your camera was unplugged.
Yeah, so that's what I was trying to explain to Shell, like that for him, that's like our Marvel movies being adapted, right? Because that's a book series that he discovered. He's read every book that's come out. He's all up to speed, and now it's his time to see the adaptation.
Yeah.
So he's pumped for January.
Yeah. Venom, I mean, like I said, didn't even know it was coming out until about maybe a month ago. I thought it was on the books for 2025. So I'm just very surprised that was the one movie that you decided to go and see in the theater. I was like,
it's because the boy. Blame the boy.
Right.
Very few things come out that's in his wheelhouse that he wants to go check out.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
That being said, he will go see any movie if given the opportunity to go to the theater. Something that he was interested in.
Was this like a prime time Saturday night?
It was a
viewing, or was it
12:45 today?
And today. Oh, right.
Today,
yes, because you texted me. And how many people were in the theater?
A smaller theater, like one of the small ones, but
yeah.
There's enough people there.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah. It wasn't you and nobody else. You and Oliver and
our because we went and saw, what was it, a couple of weeks ago? We went and saw the Transformers 1.
Transformers, yeah.
And there was one other person, and we saw it on a day where I figured that there would be more. Anyway, who can, like, how can you can't read theaters now? You don't know when, unless it's like a Friday night major blockbuster. I would even argue to say that there's not even a guarantee that a movie theater would be packed at that point.
No, not anymore. Like when I pulled up, I was surprised how empty the parking lot was. So I'm like, okay, there's gonna be nobody here. But then I was more surprised by the amount of people that were at that screening.
Which you would think that, in this day and age when you can actually buy your tickets ahead of time, select your seats, guaranteed seating, that people would be more inclined to go, as opposed to 10 years ago where it was like, oh, we're just going to buy tickets and, get seats where we can, or do our best to get a good spot. So anyway.
And then with this one, I would say I'm happier that it came out now than in the summer, because I think more people would be more disappointed in the summer just based on the fact that there's so little like action in this movie than they would have expected for a big summer blockbuster like Deadpool.
Who knows though? Like maybe it was originally scheduled to come out in the summer, and it was like every other movie that's been pushed back. Like I don't
probably.
know what the original, but you're right. Yeah, that's probably maybe a strategic. Not that Sony does a lot of things strategically, but maybe that was one where it was like, let's just let's go around the summer.
Yeah,
not through the summer, but let's go around the summer.
So
And
I guess for a collar scale, it'd be more of a clenched collar. Like, oh my,
it's like it's a little nippy outside.
Ugh, yeah,
like put on the blazer, maybe perhaps.
More or less, yeah. So that's Venom review. Poor review.
Wow, wow.
Yes. Venom and a whimper.
But there could be a fourth one.
Oh, probably. Like even if this makes no money over domestically, it's going to make a ton internationally because they all seem to, and Sony will just do it again. Doesn't matter. Does not matter at all. Good or bad. If it makes money, they'll make more.
Or we'll see you again in 5 years before you're just about to lose the license. Right?
Yeah, because I don't know. It's like so they have the rights to any character that's associated with Spider-Man. Now, if I don't make a Venom movie, but I make a Dr. Octopus movie, do I get to still retain Venom because it's part of the property?
I think it's the character needs to be in the movie. You need to release a movie with that character.
They're still sitting on like Silver Sable. They haven't done a Black Hat. They haven't a lot of things they haven't done in 12 years since they've had it.
Is Marvel gonna? Maybe they're so obscure that Marvel wouldn't bother asking for it back. The Beetle, we want the Beetle back. Like no, Silver Sable, good example. Maybe you're right. I don't know. Maybe there just needs to be a movie set in that universe.
Yeah.
Right. But then I see like there might be some loopholes where Marvel could say, well, Silver Sable is more military, so it's more Shield, and we own Shield, and then like who knows, right?
It's like how they got the Tinkerer in Homecoming.
I completely forgot about the Tinkerer in Homecoming until you just said that.
Well, you're welcome. We got Tinkerer and Shocker.
Thank you.
2 versions of Shocker.
Yes. Great movies. We actually watched, I don't know why, but Arlo and I watched the Marvels again. I was like, put on whatever you want. Oliver was at his friend's and Jade was out. So we chose that and we watched it. A couple things stood out. Actually, one thing. I forgot how quick that movie was.
It's a short runtime.
It's a short movie, and it was like
92 minutes or something.
Not
it's
bad.
Like almost like animated movie level short.
And in the post-credit scene with the X-Men, still, it's up there in terms of my all-time favorite post-credit scenes. I have to say, obviously there's a one with Nick Fury talking to Tony. Do you realize who you've done and the world's larger than you? Like those big moment ones. But for an end credit scene at a point where we become numb to end credit scenes, that one stands out. And it still does.
Yeah. I can see that.
Just makes me excited about what could, what the next couple of years look like anyway. Until we're inevitably let down.
Yeah. I remember walking out of the Avengers and having the tease of Thanos and having half the theater be like, fucking right. And other people going, is that Hellboy?
Is that Ron Perlman?
Yeah. Like, what's going on?
Isn't he red?
Yeah. Like not knowing like what the fuck's going on. And then you go, online chatter. Oh, it's Thanos. Oh, this is Thanos. Oh, they're going to do this.
So good. So good. It's those moments we long for.
Yeah. Well, we're sitting there waiting for the post credits, not because there's the mid credits and post credit scene, and the credits are going. And Parker turns to me and he goes, "Dad, the credits are long." And I just basically had to do like the sit down, boy. Let me tell you, we've been doing this for 16 years, sitting through credits to watch these scenes.
Yeah.
You don't even know. Don't even start with me.
Don't even. Yeah.
2008, just to see Nick Fury.
And think about the amount of people that missed that scene too, because
People
didn't,
still leave.
like
people. Michelle and I, when we see any sort of Marvel property and people get up and leave, we're like, "Have you learned nothing in the past 16 years?"
Yeah, honestly. Well, there's someone who just woke up out of a coma.
Yeah, or they don't care.
Or they don't care. Yeah. Or you know what? They're just not as hopeful as we are.
Yeah.
They're just like, it doesn't matter it's not going to tie together. They're the smart ones, actually.
They start
Cory,
laying out all the scenes, post-credit scenes have led to nowhere.
We should be standing up and applauding them because they're
Where's
the ones
new
that
10
actually
rings?
Yeah.
Shang-Chi's sisters are in the 10 rings. What's that beacon that they found in the rings?
They get up and start screaming, "I've been disappointed enough. I'm leaving. You can't disappoint me anymore." Meanwhile, we're sitting down waiting for the scene while we have to use the facilities.
Yeah, and it's like
for nothing.
A piece of dust lands on the ground, and like a shadowy figure walks in. And they go credits, and we're like, "Oh, it's Mephisto."
The worst one is the Shazam one where Mr. Mind talks with Mark Strong's character. I'm drawing a blank, but it was pointless. Yeah. He comes back, and then they repeated it in the second one. Like, dude, you basically just rinsed and repeated the same end credit scene, and it's moved nothing forward. Anyway.
Yeah, there's a lot of ones now. It's just like a Garfield's second movie where they are setting up the Sinister Six.
We should do a bracket for end credit scenes. Let's do this. We'll get the interns to start working on something.
All right.
Yeah.
A bracket. I don't know how many brackets we've talked about doing over the past year and a half.
I'm
sticking a bracket of all the brackets.
Yes, no, we're gonna stick with this one. We'll talk to the interns, get them to type up a proposal, a business case.
You write down your business plan. Do you want to get rapid fire geek news and then go into your thing, or you want?
Let's do it
first.
No.
Oh, all right. We'll rapid fire, catch up on the geek news stuff, take a breather, and we'll go to your thingamabob. So last week we missed, and New York Comic Con was going on.
Quietly too.
Quietly, I did not know until I started seeing things come out of it. Like, this was announced and this is happening, and so I just have some quick things we can talk. Again, we'll talk about being excited. So we'll go with the first thing. Marvel officially confirmed the premiere date of Daredevil Born Again on March 4th of 2025.
That's going to come by so quick.
We are now, what date are we? October 27.
29 for when the audio listener.
Yes.
Right?
That's correct. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We're about 20 weeks away.
It's going to fly by.
Wednesday.
And I'm saying this now. I'm not going to watch any trailers.
You got to watch one.
I'll watch, you know what? I'll watch the first one. I'll watch the first one on here, and then that's it. Aside from that, I'm not going to do it.
So it was supposed to be an 18-episode season before they retooled the whole thing and actually made it connect to the Netflix series. So now we got 9 episodes, and it's apparently got renewed for a second season, which I guess is going to be the next 9 episodes. So we're back up to 18.
Okay, good. I'm excited for it. I think it's the one property that a lot of fans were upset that it ended. The unfortunate thing is that it got looped in with Luke Cage. It got looped in with Iron Fist. And it was attached to them by the hip when really it was its own successful property that was its own story.
Which is, because it was big and then it expanded out. But then when the collapse happened, it got sucked in with it.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm excited for it, and it feels like Charlie, what's his last name?
Charlie Cox.
Charlie Cox is passionate about playing Matt Murdock, so yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
And D'Onofrio. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah. Although, yeah, I mean, they need to work on the camera angles. They need to get back to basics with him. Because he's not as big. He's not as big as he was in season 1.
Really big in his short time on Hawkeye.
You're saying he did or didn't?
Shirt? He did.
Oh, he did. Yeah. Get back to that.
Then not Neko. No, not Neko.
No. Anyway.
Comic news wise, big crossover. Rise of the Emperor of Doom, or Emperor Doom, I should say. That's gonna be most of 2025.
Makes sense. He is the Sorcerer Supreme. Did they talk about that in the news at all, about him being the Sorcerer Supreme? And
yeah, the story will feature Doctor Doom wielding ultimate power across the Marvel universe.
So they use the word ultimate, and I know right now Jonathan Hickman reignited the Ultimate Universe, and there's Ultimate Spider-Man, there's the Ultimates, Ultimate Black Panther, Ultimate X-Men, and the story really hinges on the Maker coming back and wreaking havoc once more on the Ultimate Universe. So I'm wondering if somehow that gets the two universes, 616 and the Ultimate Universe, I can't remember what the designation is for it, gets tied back together where Doctor Doom takes control and takes power. He's a very underutilized villain in the Marvel Universe, and I could almost argue that if it wasn't for Thanos being a cosmic threat, he would have been the best villain to start the MCU with, in lieu of Thanos.
Yeah,
like he's that encompassing. He's that, huge.
So do you think if you were to do it again, this is probably like a better what if episode of the show. I think an ideal bulb just went on. If you were to start the MCU over again, would you start smaller stakes and work your way up? So maybe go like street level threats, then you have your planetary threats, then you have your universal threats. I think you can't really go back now. Like you can't have Spider-Man taking on Thanos up in space, and then now he's back in New York, and Kingpin's got some shit going down in the mayoral race.
Yeah, I don't know that I would do anything different, because they did kind of touch on street level a bit with Captain America, the first Avenger. Now, granted, the Tesseract was involved, and Hydra was using cosmic powers at some point.
It's a war movie, right?
Yeah, but yeah, that could work. I think you would run the risk, though, is if you focus on street level and then go to, as you pointed out, cosmic, and you kind of do these different tiers. If you don't hit the nail on the head, you could lose the audience pretty quickly, as opposed to touching on every single one of them, because you might touch some fans that are really into that niche aspect of the Marvel Universe, while others are attached to different niche aspects. Yeah, maybe we should do a what if. Look at all these ideas that are coming up.
Damn me.
Any toy news from New York Comic Con?
Well, I was just saying, they also teased Ultimate Wolverine. It's a new series coming out. It's going to revamp the mutant story.
Yeah, did they say who's writing it?
Not in the piece that I have here.
Okay, I don't know who's writing it. I would definitely recommend that if anyone's interested in reading a Marvel or a Wolverine title, Wolverine Revenge. I think it's in its second or third issue. Issue 3 might have come out. I definitely have issue 2, but it's written by Jonathan Hickman, and it's drawn by I forget his name. I just drew a blank. What is his name? He was on. He's an older artist.
That's why we Google when we're thinking things.
Yeah, and I'm trying to do that right now. But anyway, it's a really good. It's almost, I wouldn't say that's like a black label like DC. There's some adult content with it, but it's essentially Wolverine. Something happened where all of the heroes in the world are gone, and it's because of something that Magneto had done. Greg Capullo, thank you. As I searched, Greg Capullo drew it. Anyway, really good. He has to get revenge for his fallen brethren. So I'd recommend Wolverine Revenge.
DC comic news. We're getting Hush 2.
Oh, okay. But
some people were thrilled. I guess Steve was not one of them.
Jeff Loeb. I mean, it better be, but
just doesn't say.
So let me just see. Like Hush was a beautiful book, and it was a good story, but it was also a very finite story. I don't know that. Yeah, but maybe we're at that point with comics now where we had Civil War II, we had, all these sequels to Meet the Skrulls and Secret Invasion, and now we're getting a Hush 2. It's like something, like, just come up with something new,
Never.
I'm sure you can. Like, are we really running out of Batman stories? It's only been around for almost 100 years. With different stories, you can come up with something different. I'm curious to know who's writing that. It better not be Jeff Loeb.
Better not, or better be?
Better not be. Because it seems lazy.
Well, he is doing, was it the sequel to Long Halloween?
I never read it. Like Long Halloween. I've never read Long Halloween.
Written by Jeff Loeb.
Yeah. And Hush 2. Yeah, I can't figure out.
Hush Volume 2. Excuse me. Yep. Jim Lee, Jeff Loeb, recently confirmed.
Oh, that's, so essentially it's going to take them about 2 years to push it out because Jim Lee is the slowest artist in the history of comic books. So,
but my God, does he do good work?
He does. He really does. Hush 2. Interesting. I'll probably pick up the first one. I mean, let's go.
Just to see what's going on.
Yeah.
Toy news, like McFarlane Toys, as per usual. Showing off new additions to their DC multiverse line. New Green Lantern and Forever Evil grid figure. And also massive Batmobile in the style of the animated series.
That would be pretty awesome. And actually, I saw the images for the animated series Batmobile. It looks pretty awesome. I just don't know that I can. I don't know that I can spend that kind of money on that. They did release, though, however, the Wave 10 of McFarlane's DC Superpowers, and it's coming out in spring of next year. So they're going to be coming out with Lobo. They're going to be coming out with Robin, the Atom, Jay Garrick's Flash, Batman, and Superman. So 10 waves already.
Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure they're all reasonably priced.
That line is reasonably priced. No, like legit, it is. You don't get anything with it, but yeah. Anyway. New York Comic Con.
New York Comic Con. Did you see? Speaking of Batmobile, did you see this fancy device, and I'm going to tell you, you're not going to believe me, but is 100% legit. This is a phone case.
What?
The Batmobile from Michael Keaton's 1989. It is a phone case.
How is that? Like, is the phone on the bottom of the?
Yeah, no, it's so the your phone will be on the obviously the flat part, so the base of the Batmobile.
Yeah.
And then the hood, front part of the car flips open to reveal like the camera portion.
That's cool. Retails for $500.
Oh, it's a limited edition, as one would assume.
Of course it is.
Because nothing is ever a mass. It's so it's by Case Defy. That's the people who make it. There's where the phone opens up.
It's pretty cool. I mean, it's not something that would be uberly comfortable to hold in your pocket while you're walking around. It might even look funny to others. But yeah, it's I wonder how heavy it is too. Like, it looks heavy. It looks like you're holding a die-cast model in your pocket.
Yeah, it actually doesn't list here how much it weighs that I can see.
They don't say anything about the weight. That's what they're talking. Like, don't say anything. Get them to buy it. They'll deal with the 10 pounds when it arrives.
Yeah, they're only making 50 of them.
That's it.
That's all.
Oh my god!
Free shipping, but guess how much?
50. I'm gonna say $1,000.
Sorry, how much?
1,000.
Higher.
3,000.
Lower.
2,000.
There it is.
Wow.
$2,000. But again, shipping is free.
Of course, yeah. Save the $16 on shipping.
And just so you know, it is excluded from any promotions and discount codes. So you are paying that $2,000. Don't think you can apply your 15% off for signing up. Not happening.
To have one of 50 though is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So they if you read the fine print, it's 50 per state or per province for a grand total of 1 in 3,000. That's cool.
It's 50 total, yeah.
You leave your phone on the counter and your young daughter or son picks up and starts playing with it. Cracks the screen.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, this thing is your phone's getting broken if you have it. Not even just because like you might drop it or something, because someone's gonna play with it.
Yeah. Or you're at a restaurant or whatnot, and you're just going back and forth because you're just shooting the shit.
Yeah, and right off the edge.
Right off the edge.
I could see myself doing that.
Yep, definitely. It'd be really cool though if the compartment where the driver's seat was and the passenger seat was opened up, and you had a couple little figures. I mean, why not? If you're spending $2,000, like, just build that in.
Yeah, throw it into that'll be the extra perk.
Yeah, like, even just have like a Keaton Batman figure that's standing upright that you could just put right in front of it, so that you could pretend that it stopped and braked just before it hit him. Stop. That'd be cool. How
many takes do you think that did on that particular shot without flinching or something? Because you got to imagine part of you is like, this might not stop on the right spot.
I'm gonna say not many. I would even say one. I'd say one.
One or two.
Yeah.
Two to be safe. Make sure we got it.
Because what you don't know is that they were driving super, super slow, and then they sped it up.
You know what? If you think about it, I bet you it was on reverse.
Oh, maybe. Yeah,
stood there, and the car is backing up, not driving forward.
Mm-hmm. That could be it too.
The joys of filmmaking. So, we've talked about this ad nauseum. We do have an official release date.
Mm-hmm.
July 2026, which means it takes place after Doomsday and before Secret Wars. So what's going to happen in this movie? It has to be multiversal, now doesn't it?
I have no idea. Did you say July 26th of next year or of 2026?
July of 2026.
26. That's what I thought. Okay. I can't even speculate.
Now, people are assuming that Null's now going to be involved.
What a weak choice for. No. Maybe. I don't know. I think
He wants to take over the worlds.
I think maybe
all of them.
He needs to have just a very basic ground level character at this point. He's had a couple of. You don't think so? Unless
but now that it's between two Avengers movies, I think you're gonna have it be a grander scale.
I don't even think they know what they're doing for the Avengers movies. So until they've done that, then I can't speculate on. I can give you an idea of what's happening, but I'm sure there's going to be.
When Sony's involved, nobody knows.
That's right. The game is about guessing.
Oh, that would make it a guessing game.
Guess who?
Hey,
it's good though that he's coming back. I'm happy. I hope they do Tom Holland and that character justice and send him off the way that he should be sent off, and not get bogged down by the bring back Garfield, bring back Maguire. Like, just you had your movies with them in it. Now let's focus on his swan song of the character.
I mean, what they should have done, again, back to the what if, is when you brought those guys in for No Way Home and then they went back, I would have, maybe give Garth the other chance to be the Sonyverse Spider-Man.
Yeah. That would be too easy for Sony to do, though.
Yeah, it would.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, you could give them a solid idea and they'll be like, yeah, we'll think about it. And then never do anything about it.
Did you hear James Gunn's comments about the DCEU and how it could tie into the DCU?
Just stop. Let a movie come out first, dude.
So he was saying, now this is his clarifying.
Not you, James Gunn.
I know. Part of me wasn't sure though. So apparently it's all going to be canon, possibly. He says, we learned that other things that have happened in the past in the other media have still happened. There are references to things that happened in the past, and those references then become canon in the DCU because we mention them. No. So don't pretend that these movies didn't happen. We'll just talk about plot points, and then therefore they did happen.
Why?
Because I don't know anymore.
Like, is he unsure about how well his universe is going to go, so that he needs to point to the Snyderverse so that he can blame, in part, the Snyderverse for his failures if he's not as confident as he should be, or as he's been saying? He's got to stop. He's just got to stop about past, present, future. Just get the movie out. Yeah. Let's see how Superman is. Shut up, blow people's socks off with that movie when it comes out. Pump the tires of that movie before anything else, and then we can have that conversation.
Yeah, I think
so. If you could tell him that, Cory, that would be great.
I will message him that after the show. Yeah, I think you need to get your toes wet before you dive in.
Oh, it's almost like he's overcompensating for something, it seems. And every comment like that makes me think that more and more, where it's just stop. He wasn't even this bad when he was with Guardians of the Galaxy. Granted, it wasn't his universe that he was running, but he had a lot of success after the first one, leading into the second one, where he could have said these things and didn't. So why? Just shut up. Be quiet. Stop.
Yeah, let the
James.
work do the talking. You don't need to.
Yeah, Jimmy, just let your work talk.
Come on.
Come on, Jimmy.
All right, so we're an hour in. Let's
Commercial and then
we'll hand the reins over to you because school will be in session.
Look at this. Hey, come on, man. What? Cool things happen when you start the day with Kellogg's Pop-Tarts. So cool. They're hot, so hot. The hot taste of real fruit filling inside and cool frosting on the outside. Real hot, 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 hot. The cool, hot part of this complete breakfast. So cool. They're hot, so hot.
Thank you.
They're cool.
Something about the 80s and mannequins coming to life for horny teenage boys is something I don't understand.
this is the today's special. It's
Yeah.
for everyone. Yep.
Also, nice Ben Seaver from Growing Pains, eh? Jeremy Miller.
I didn't even recognize him because all I was thinking about is the mannequin's hat going to fall off, and is that going to be the trigger to make her turn real?
No, man, it's strawberry Pop-Tarts.
And where's Fred? And where's the mouse? Where's Jeff? Like, these are things I was thinking about.
All things you're concerned about. That makes sense.
Yep. All right. Shall we?
On to you, Malish.
Yeah. So something I've always wanted to do, and I feel we had a good opportunity to take a stab at it. So I'd like to do a one-on-one where it's open to both of us, and we can choose any topic that we want and do, a basic rundown of the history of that topic. It could be a character, it could be a TV show, it could be not necessarily a movie, but maybe a property that's had and seen many movies, or it could be a toy. So I've got a number of ideas that I feel I would like to spend some 101 time, calling class, bring in the students, and lay down some knowledge for those that don't otherwise know that much about this topic. I don't know how this is going to go. This is my first kick at the can. We'll kind of go through it together. I'll stop along the way and maybe we'll have some discussion on the topics. Who knows? Maybe next time it might be shorter. It might be longer. We'll just kind of see how it goes.
Is this going to be on the final?
Yeah, that's right. Do you have your textbooks open? I would like you to turn to page 1. So today's, what are we calling it? I guess it's still
Today's special
being workshopped, but today's special one-on-one or 101 is on Kenner's DC superpowers. Dun, 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 dun. Nothing, but we'll go. We'll come up with graphics. We'll workshop that. So again, I'm going to kind of go through the history of it, stop along the way, have some discussion. If you want to talk about something, as a great student, raise your hand. If I'm not writing on the chalkboard, maybe I'll see you and I'll address your question. Shall we begin? No talking while class is in session. Absolutely not. So we'll start with the genesis of Kenner and DC Comics joining forces in the early 1980s.
Mm-hmm.
It was in the late 1970s and the early 1980s that Kenner was basking in the astronomical success of its Star Wars action figures. By the early 80s, Kenner had proven itself to be a powerhouse in creating iconic, articulated figures, and DC Comics took notice. Superheroes had been popular in pop culture for many decades. I'd say 3 to 4 decades at least, but they hadn't quite found their way into a successful action figure line, at least not one that captured the essence of the characters the way that Kenner did with Star Wars. Star Wars was very successful. It was the first line where they moved from the traditional G.I. Joe 6, 7, 8 inch figures down to the 3.5, affordable, tied into movies. So yeah, it saw many successes. So there's no surprise there that DC wanted to find their own success. So Kenner secured the rights to produce DC comic characters in 1983. DC was eager to cash in on the rising toy craze and needed a partner who could handle the precision and market saturation that Star Wars had achieved. The concept was straightforward: a line of action figures tied directly to the characters' abilities in the comics, each with a special superpower. The team behind the toys consulted heavily with DC Comics and relied on Jose Luis Garcia Lopez's DC Style Guide, which became the visual Bible for the toy line. But it wasn't only just the toy line. In 1982, DC hired Garcia Lopez to create a swatch and essentially a standard for how all of the characters that all of DC's properties, how they would be drawn, whether it was TV shows, comic books, toys, merchandising, they all had to follow his DC Style Guide that was created in 1982. And they were they were drawn and created as very confident, certain, powerful, Olympian. And actually I have, for our visual listeners, a good sense of what the Style Guide provided. So you can see every single one of them standing upright, strong, confident, strong facial expressions. If they were good guys, they had a smile on their face. If they were bad, they had a frown. So they followed.
Batman's arms are all closed because he's the closed off one, right? The one in the mask.
He wasn't open. So
yeah.
So each figure, the artistic direction ensured that the figures were as comic accurate as possible. Each figure, and even when writing comic books, if there was a new writer or a new artist that would have come and take on a book, they would need to go to the Style Guide and draw the character as it was defined in the Style Guide. Each figure came with an action feature. So Superman had the power punch, and so this is what the power punch was. You would squeeze the legs together and they would power punch.
Hold on, let's get that up and big again. Same angle.
So there we go, the power punch. Batman had the karate chop, Robin had the karate chop, and Flash had super legs. So I now I think is a good point to pause, and it was really inventive and creative at that point to tie a figure's action feature to the comic book power. It was a very unique choice at the time. There weren't any toys that had come out that had done that. So do you think, and I'll ask you, do you think that it added value to the toys, and do you think that incorporating powers into toys now is something that's missing with toy lines that we see?
Now for me, like I got a lot of action figures like secondhand, like through garage sales and stuff like that, because that's what my grandmother used to do all the time. So when a toy had an added feature like the karate chop or the punch or the Jimmy legs, if they were broken, that arm just went moved all the time, whether you wanted to or not. So there is something to be said of the benefits of just a posable figure that you can, have you do it. And mind you, you're the one that's doing all the articulation yourself.
Yeah.
But if you can have your guy stand there and you throw the punch versus you're holding your guy and his leg won't stand up straight anymore. That being said, it is fun to have, like, Batman's holding this fucking gun that shoots something, or Superman, karate chop kick and all this other stuff. So yeah, I could make the argument both ways.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some exceptions to the rule. I know, we're talking about superheroes, but if you look at Transformers, their features obviously built into how they're designed as a toy, where they can transform from vehicle to robot and back. I
think if you have a Transformer that can't transform, you don't have a Transformer.
Yeah, I think what I'm seeing as someone that collects Marvel Legends is that they're moving away from features of the character, featuring the superpowers of the character, and they're moving more towards like the build a figure. So you buy this set of 6, and each figure comes with something that creates its own figure. So I think that there at the time there was value, but I it's definitely something that's moved on, and it's also moving more towards like collectors now that are
Yeah.
buying these toys, and so they
That's
don't
what I was just gonna
necessarily want to play with the toys. They want to display them, as you see
My
behind me.
Go Penguin.
That's right. That's right. Very nice, by the way. Very nice.
First thing Parker says, "Why do you have a doll?"
So
Well,
the
way.
the foundation was set with Kenner and DC. They had the style guides, they had the concept, they had the plan. Now it was to put it in action. So Wave 1 came out in 1984 with 12 figures, and the initial wave focused on its biggest heavy hitters in the DC universe. So for the heroes, and I was looking at my collection, and I have every hero for Wave 1 and 2 of the villains. So I have 10 of the 12. But the
Nice.
heroes were Superman, Batman, Dick Grayson's Robin, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Flash, Green Lantern, and Hawkman. And the villains for the first wave was Joker, Penguin, Lex Luthor, and Brainiac. If we look at the features and designs of the first wave, these figures were groundbreaking for their time because it was the first time that they were boasting 8 points of articulation, including the head, the shoulders, the elbows, the hips, and knees, which is more than the standard for action figures back then, which was just the standard head and arms and legs. In addition, each figure had a cloth cape where it was applicable. So you think of like Superman right here with the cloth cape, Robin with the cloth cape, Batman with the cloth cape, something new to its time. And that really set them apart from other toys with at the time having plastic capes and whatnot. If they didn't have a cape, they would come with an accessory. Unfortunately, I don't have it anymore, but Green Lantern, as an example, came with the lantern that would power his ring. So each figure also included with it a comic book, and this was a very unique idea and almost groundbreaking because the addition of the mini comic gave kids a crash course into the DC universe. So which I think is something that's missing, because I went to Walmart today and I saw, we always check out the toy aisle, and there was a toy. Yeah, there was a toy like Green Lantern, and it had Green Lantern Rebirth in it. So it was a full-size comic with just a little minifigure. But back in the day, I have a couple of unopened figures. Superman, for our visual listeners, here's Superman, but you can see in the back there's the comic book. So it was very unique at the time, where it gave those kids the opportunity to read a story that was based on that particular character. Something that I think is not around obviously as much. And I'm curious, like, especially now, given the movies and the TV shows and the popularity of pulp culture, why are they not leveraging this more? Why is Marvel Legends not including a mini comic, or at least a QR code, or at least a scannable code that would provide them a free comic of that character? It could be low cost savings. It could be not a high enough cost, pardon me, to include that. So I don't know why they wouldn't continue doing that.
Yeah, I've seen those too for Marvel as well. There was a time, probably 10, 12 years ago, where they would have like the 2-packs.
Yeah.
And they would have the comic with it, because it was, let's say if it's like first appearance of Wolverine, right? They had a Wolverine figure and a Hulk figure. And the comic was included with it. Yeah, I don't know why they got away from that, especially when it seems to be a dying medium.
Oh, it's paper. I mean, and if you can drive kids to that medium, that would then produce more stories, which would produce more TV shows, which would produce more movies. Why not? Before we head into Wave 2, we'll talk about the pricing and the early sales for Wave 1. So the figures were priced between $3.99 to $5.99, which adjusted for inflation today would be about $10 or $15 American, depending on the retailer. So within the first year, Superpowers had sold over 4 million units, grossing over $60 million at the time. So for a toy line not to be tied to a major blockbuster movie like Star Wars, this was a huge, huge success. Yeah, so it was, it was a good start to the concept, right? We're not tying it to, and an impressive one at that. We're not tying it to a movie that's come out. This is just
Right.
us
This is
making.
84, so we've already lost Adam West Batman in 68 or 69.
Yeah.
Super Friends cartoons was also, I think, off. Were they doing the New Adventures? No, that was also in the 70s.
Might have
So
been.
really, you don't really have that much going on in terms of even TV content, cartoon-wise, to tie this into. So you're just basically going off the comics and people's, like, not even nostalgia in the 80s, but just their familiarity with those characters as a whole.
Yeah. And like any company would, they catch lightning in a bottle.
Mm-hmm.
They have great success.
Yes.
They then ask themselves, how can we go off the board for Wave 2 and put our whole line at risk? Well, in Wave 2, they decided that they would expand the universe. Wave 2 came out in 1985. And following the success of the first wave with the figures that I had just mentioned to you, 60 million in 1 year, 4 million units sold, Kenner decided to release the second wave that year in 1985. The team decided to take some risks, but included some lesser-known DC characters. So for that wave, the heroes included, and I have all the heroes, Green Arrow, Firestorm, Martian Manhunter, and Red Tornado. And the villains included Darkseid or Darkseid, Calabac, Steppenwolf, Mantis, and Desaad. So really, can you catch a theme with the villains? Here's an unopened, beautiful, preserved Darkseid. Nice. Yeah. This one was actually cool because the feature was if you held his eyes up to a light, then his eyes would turn red. That was pretty awesome. We talked about it. I started off by saying it was bold. There was a risk. The reason why is that the wave introduced Jack Kirby's fourth world characters, Darkseid and his minions, which was a bold move at the time. These characters were not well known to the mainstream audience. However, Kenner hoped that this would broaden the DC mythos to kids unfamiliar with these deeper cuts, which makes sense. If they had success like they did with Wave 1 on their traditional heavy hitters, kids were buying them. Kids were, asking for these characters at Christmas and birthdays and whatnot. There is that opportunity for them to continue the line, putting out these lesser known characters and potentially provide some value back to DC Comics,
especially if they're bad guys, right? Because like kids always want to have like the rogues of the villains. They want to have a plethora of bad guys for Batman to beat the shit out of.
Yep. The wave did okay, but sales were slightly lower than the first wave. This was mainly because parents and kids just weren't as familiar with these new characters. However, Darkseid became an iconic villain in the toy line, and today he's one of the more memorable figures of that wave. So the question would be, do you think Kenner decided to introduce less popular characters like Steppenwolf and Mantis in the second wave? Why do you think that? Was this a smart strategy, or did it alienate potential buyers? How does this compare to modern day toy lines that still try and mix A-listers with more obscure characters?
I mean, like you said, today it's easy to do because everyone's a collector, right? You want to get, if it's 12 figures in a line, you want to get all 12. You want to be a completionist. You want to have it all. But back then, when it's just again dipped your toe in there, you kind of have to play where the ball's going.
So the whole the build a figure concept is driving the obscure characters being bought, because you will always have a wave in Marvel Legends. Now they do the same thing for McFarlane DC DC Direct. I don't buy them, but they do the same thing with Build-A-Figures, where they'll get 5 of the 6 are your characters that people are wanting to buy, the collectors are wanting to buy, and then you get that one that's like really, do I need to get Icarus?
You want to finish building Solomon Grundy, you're gonna have to.
That's right. Yeah. So I think they're now able to address the the potential risk of sales by just tying them into a group of figures that people will buy.
Yeah.
If they're looking to complete that build a figure, then you have to buy the F-lister, as it were. So I talked a lot about the figures in the first 2 waves that came out. Haven't mentioned anything about vehicles and play sets, so let's talk about that for a quick minute. So the vehicles and play sets were another cornerstone of the Superpowers collection. Beyond the figures that I talked about, Kenner offered the Batmobile, which you see in the bottom left-hand side of the screen for the viewers. I had this, got it at the garage sale when I was young, beat the shit out of it because I played with it so much.
I think we have this.
Yeah, there you go.
I think so.
There we go. So the Batmobile, classic design with pop-out battering rams at the front there. The Hall of Justice, a massive playset that allowed kids to stage an all-out battle between good and evil. Something on my wish list, never got it, but absolutely wanted to get my hands on it. And one thing that's not on there, but it's, I guess you could say it's obscure. It's called the Justice Jogger. Yes, the infamous walker for Superman, arguably the most bizarre accessory ever. And if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. For the listeners and viewers that don't know what I'm talking about, it was an accessory that literally he sat in, and it was like an exoskeleton that he walked around in. Very obscure, very pointless for a character such as Superman. But if I go back to the Hall of Justice for a minute, at the time in 1985, it was priced at $19.99, which adjusted for inflation today is $57. At the time, that was considered high end, but it added a ton of value for kids who wanted to recreate the epic showdowns. $57 back then, that's not that bad, to be completely honest. Not that bad at all.
I mean,
yeah. So just a fun fact about the Justice Jogger. It was rumored to have been created as a last-minute attempt to sell another Superman-centric vehicle, despite the obvious fact that Superman could, fly. Like, I don't know why you'd need a jogger. This decision remains one of the most head-scratching moments in toy history. And he wasn't on that image that you shared. So, I'm just saying. What, are you pulling it up right now?
Am I?
That's it. The Justice Jogger.
Justice Jogger.
Yeah, it's almost like you remember the movie? It was a Pixar movie, and it was a robot that did everything for everyone, and they were lazy. Wall-E, and people were just fat and slobs, and they were just being moved around in seats that they were sitting back on. That's what this reminds me of.
Like, look at his face. Like, even Superman doesn't look impressed.
So what am I doing here? And that's a high chair to hop on too. Like, he had to fly up just to get on the chair. Now he's gonna.
He looks like, when you're getting out of the hospital, but you don't need the wheelchair, but it's regulation that you get wheeled out. It's like, I feel so stupid. Like, I can walk.
Power stepping action.
I mean, did this guy wind up? Looks like it. Like, you wind it up and it walks.
Yeah, you know what? You can always tell with the wind up if you're looking at the legs, and it's the ones that go over one another. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, they just kind of go over. How important do you think these elements are to the overall success of toys in the 80s accessories? Do you think that they played a huge factor in the success or not?
Vehicles?
Yeah, just accessories.
Well, if my kid's playing with superheroes, he wants the cars.
Yeah.
I mean, like, the more the better, right? If Batman comes with a car, like, it's just, there's Batman, there's the Batmobile. So of course you need to have, and then they gotta have a place to fight. They got a place to hang out. Like, if you're gonna do the Hall of Justice, where they're gonna be sitting around having their board meeting, you need to have the building.
Yeah. Yep. You need to have the round table that they can get together and discuss how they're going to save the world on that given day or week.
You see kids just having the characters sit around the table, just not fighting, just literally having like
just
a diplomacy argument.
Yeah. Having a Why didn't you talk? I got a friggin' mosquito in my room. How is that even possible? Okay. The Justice Jogger may have been a bit of a foreshadowing accessory for things to come, because by the time 1986 came, DC or Kenner, pardon me, launched Wave 3, and by the time that was launched, Superpowers was beginning to struggle. The third wave included some more obscure characters, and there weren't as many characters in this third wave. For the heroes, you had Cyborg, Shazam, Plastic Man, and Golden Pharaoh, and for the villains, you had Mr. Freeze, Tyre, and Cyclotron. Wave 3, I think, was definitely the wave where it started to fall off the cliff. There was some of these figures that aren't well known, like Golden Pharaoh and Tyr, but then there are some like Cyborg, Shazam, and Plastic Man, ones that I've always wanted, but they're just too damn pricey now. And I think due to the lack of success that this wave had, the figures in Wave 3 are now considered some of the most rarest and most valuable in the entire collection. And this is mainly due to the fact that the wave was short printed and many figures never made it to major retailers. Cyborg, as an example, has become one of the most valuable figures. And if you look online on eBay or whatnot, you can see them going up for as high as $3,000 in mint conditions on the secondary market. So while Wave 1 had cleared 4 million units, sales in 1986 were significantly lower, with some estimates putting the total at around 1.5 million units for that year. This drop in sales was due to market saturation, the rise of competing toy lines, and the growing focus on character-specific toy lines such as Batman, which was starting to dominate with the release of the 1989 film. That was one thing that it wasn't exclusive to Superpowers, but every single toy line in the 80s had that to deal with, where due to deregulation by the Reagan administration, basically cartoons were now commercials for toys, and in order for them, a toy line, to have success and to stay on the shelf and to get the eye of the kid, and then the sales that come with it, they had a lot going against them. So this wasn't, a Superpowers thing. It was eventually every toy line, except for those whales out there like G.I. Joe, Transformers, where they were just successful. They were so powerfully successful. So the fall, why did Superpowers, why was it discontinued? So despite the line's initial success in 1984, just 2 years later, by 1986, Kenner faced several challenges. I talked about a couple of these challenges. Number one being that there were competing toy lines. So by the mid 1980s, the toy market had become increasingly crowded with G.I. Joes, Transformers, and He-Man dominating toy aisles. Each of these lines offered their own distinct play pattern that stole attention from the Superpowers collection. Next, I talked a bit about Batman. So as the hype for the 1989 Batman movie built, Kenner shifted its attention towards character-specific toy lines, especially Batman-related toys, which ultimately overshadowed the broader Superpowers line. And then third would be a shift in focus to military and sci-fi toys as opposed to comic book focused toys. So tastes were shifting, with more realistic military-themed toy lines like G.I. Joe and Transformers with its sci-fi adventures taking precedence. Superheroes, particularly DC's more classics, were falling out of fashion by the late 1980s. So a question would be, was Batman the real reason for the downfall of Superpowers, or is it just that there was a larger cultural shift in what kids wanted to play with at that time? And I think that was it. I think it was very hard to get the attention and to keep it for any kid for a long period of time. And every kid, we both have young lads and young children where their attention is like a squirrel. It will stay focused on one thing for only a short amount of time before it moves on to something else. And that was felt by toy lines everywhere, in my opinion.
I think even Toy Story 2 touched upon that, right? With like Woody being the big toy, and then hey, there's the space race going on, so now we shift over to space toys. So yeah, like you have these toys come out that are the only thing in town, but then hey, look, I have a robot that can turn into a truck.
Yeah, and you know what, you kind of hitch your wagon to the power specific features of a toy that in quick time the manufacturing improves, where now toys can do more things,
right?
And it's harder for Kenner at the time to pivot over to these new things because they are known as the action feature toy line. If they were to completely shift and do something completely different, whether it was lights and sounds and whatnot, that would make a kid pause and be like, "Oh, this is new. It could go both ways. It could be successful, but it could also be not successful." So
Mean Green Fight Machine that was airing on television too.
That's it. So we're almost done here. Class is almost done for the night. But though the Superpowers line officially ended in 1986, it didn't disappear from memory. In the early 2000s, Mattel revived the spirit of the line with their DC Universe Classic series, which was directly inspired by the Superpowers collection. These figures introduced modern articulation and detail, but refrained from the bright colors and iconic costumes of their predecessors. In 1922, McFarlane's Toys released a Superpowers-inspired line with even more updated designs and articulation, but still pay homage to the original packaging and style. So a little fun fact about the modern iterations: McFarlane's Toys Superpowers tributes. McFarlane Toys Superpowers tributes include characters like Superman, Batman, and Darkseid, directly referencing the original Kenner design with their packaging and sculpt styles. These figures have been a hit with collectors such as myself, but unlike the originals, they haven't quite captured the mass appeal among kids, and I know why. They don't come with accessories. This is a bad example. I have every single toy that this line has come out with, but a lot of them are just the figure. And most of them, if not all of them, don't have articulation in their elbows. It's just in their legs and hips and knees. So there's a few, but it also makes it very affordable too. They're not expensive at all.
Yeah.
So in conclusion, Superpowers collection was more than just a toy line. It was a cultural phenomenon that introduced millions of kids to the world of DC superheroes like myself in a way that felt tangible, exciting, and immersive. Its innovations in action figures, articulation, and character design set the stage for future toy lines, and its influence is still felt today in the world of collectibles. Though it was short-lived, the passion it ignited for the DC universe and action figures collecting remains strong.
As we know by your shelf.
There are so many. Like when I was about 10, my dad took me to a comic convention that was in a hotel in Calgary, and he got me this, and it was $25, and it opened in each one, and it was filled with all of the toys that I still have today. And that's what got me into this line. I was probably a bit younger than that, because it would have been like I was maybe 8 or so. But ever since then, I've loved this line. It is very expensive for the original ones that I would love to buy, but I just can't afford. So that was class.
I guess there's somebody selling a cyborg pincher hand on eBay for $175, just the hand.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. But that was fun. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you gained a bit of appreciation for the line. Yes, I did.
Try not to cough.
That's right.
My hand wasn't near the mouse. Yeah, so like that was like the Mego for the 80s.
Yeah, essentially.
Because like I said, you got these finely dressed figurines, with everything perfectly tailored. Like you said, 8 inches, and then now you have your 375.
Yeah. Oh, I love that one. Yeah, I love that one. But yeah, it was it was a bold move at the time, because 3.75 meant that they're spending less on plastics. So the overhead to create a toy was a lot less than what they were compared to the 7/8 inch.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's wild. And Barbie's never changed. Go figure.
Yeah. But the articulation and I don't have the cape for Martian Manhunter, but it was awesome. And even the sculpting was borrowed by other lines. Perfect example would be Green Arrow, Oliver Queen. His sculpt was borrowed for Kevin Costner's Robin Hood toy line, which I actually have a toy if I can just find it over there, but I'll grab it for another time. The exact same toy, exact same sculpt, pardon me. So, yeah.
I don't know what's funnier that they did that. They had a toy line for Robin Hood, or that you have toys from the toy line.
Oh, I've got Little John. I've got all of them. I've got Morgan Freeman's character. I've got a lot of them. But they had a great toy set too, if you remember. They had the treehouse, I think it was. I never had it, but anyway.
Oh yeah, we saw it in the wish book.
That's right. Yeah. So we'll need to, it's definitely something I'd like to continue with these one-on-ones. Obviously not every episode, but maybe once a month, maybe,
once an episode.
Once an episode. If our good listeners and viewers have any ideas, they can happily share with us, and we can do a one-on-one on that. I've already got at least 5 or 6 ideas queued up. So
nice.
Yeah.
What more can you ask for, right?
That's it.
I think that's it.
Well, let me just pull up the outro because I was too focused on this one-on-one. If you can just give me a quick minute here and I'll find it. And thank you for joining us for another week of Open Collar. Again, thank you for joining us for another round of discussions and analysis on all things movies, TVs, and comic books, and especially toys this episode. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to hit that subscribe button and leave a rating and review on YouTube. Or any podcast aggregator that you so choose. We appreciate your support and can't wait to bring you even more great content next week. Until then, I am Steve. Over there is Cory signing off. Keep geeky, and we will see you next week for Open Collar.
Health permitting. And with that, along came Polly.
1 more year and I'm gonna is what?
So, can you do any of these impressions of any of these people?
Of the famous stars? Let me check it, 1 sec. Where's... Oh. Dude, he's... No problem. John Wayne, bro. Freak. Okay, you ready?
Okay.
Yup. Pilgrim coming down.
Am I supposed to be impressed?
You didn't like that? Let me try it once more for you guys. My buds, okay. Well, yo, Pilgrim, adios.
Oh my God, look, it's John Wayne!
John Weasley! Cool, okay. So that was pretty cool, right? You're kind of impressed?
Yeah.
You gotta admit, that's buff that I did buy you flowers, man. That might kind of create a female semi, huh?
I love them.
Okay, cool. Witness the video right now. We're in Hollywood, California. I'm showing Miss Teen USA. This is Miss Teen USA, bro.